Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world. I'm DJ Unification, also known as Double Dragon 912, and today, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I got another top 10 for you guys and girls, rather a top 20. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to do my top 20 favorite beat-em-ups that came out in the 90s. Wow, now the 90s, ladies and gentlemen, not only was it the renaissance of nothing but your favorite fighting games of all time, we also had the renaissance of my favorite genre, by far, probably tied with fighting games, I don't know yet, beat-em-ups. This is where beat-em-ups hit the market. You had Double Dragon, all type of beat-em-ups that came out on the market, ladies and gentlemen. As beat-em-up fans in the 90s, we were eating good. But ladies and gentlemen, I was able to break this thing down to 20. I could have did more than 20, but I was able to break it down to 20 for you guys and girls. Now, without further ado, I want you guys and girls to sit back, relax, and enjoy this top 20 of my favorite beat-em-ups of all time. Before we get into this, ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is my top 20. Like I said, you leave your top 20 down in the comment section. Let's get into this. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, is number 20, Final Fight 3. Wow, and it came out December 21st, 1995. Wow, great year, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see. Final Fight 3, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. Pardon me, I had to sneeze. Final Fight 3 was the third entry in the Final Fight series. Don't get me wrong, Final Fight was off the chain. It was a Super Nintendo exclusive. To this day, it's still a Super Nintendo exclusive. And Final Fight is a great beat-em-up series. It speaks for itself. Final Fight was good. The original one was good in the arcade. The Super Nintendo version was trash. Now, they made up for it with this part 2 and part 3, but today we're talking about part 3 on this one. And this one, you play with Guy, Hagar, Lucia, Hart, and Dean. And the whole story is sitting around a Mad Gear game trying to regroup and start some more mischief. And they had killed Dean, one of the characters you play with. They killed his family, slaughtered his family, and they just making up ruckus out there in Metro City. And of course, Hagar like, man, this is my city. You ain't finna mess my city up like that. So Guy came back from his training, teamed up with him. He got the rookie cop Lucille. She teamed up with him, and Dean teamed up with him because he wanted to get his revenge. It's an awesome beat 'em up, ladies and gentlemen. They added super move to this. Guy got his little move where he can basically you do like a dragon punch. Mostly he does like lightning fist. And Lucille, she got a thing where she just kick and go crazy. And Dean got like basically it's kind of like a choke slam. And Hagar got his classic spinning power driver move, but each one of them you do with different fighting game inputs, and it's an awesome game, ladies and gentlemen. Not only that, it has separate paths. Like one path, if you don't break the sign, you get on the bus and go somewhere else. If you do break the sign, you go to another part of the game, and there's different pathways you can take, and there's different endings to this game. But overall, it's a great fighting game, and this was the first, not fighting game, I'm tripping, beat 'em up. This was the first beat 'em up I played where you can, if you didn't have a friend with you, you could do 2-player auto co-op. It's like basically you and the computer player will play with you, and what you do is put it on 2-player autoplay, and then you just pick the second character, and the second character will be fighting there with you, which was tight, ladies and gentlemen, for the people that didn't have a little brother or whoever to help them play. You weren't by yourself. Appreciate you, Capcom, for thinking about us like that. We appreciate it. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, overall, Final Fight 3 was an awesome game. Capcom picked up the ball and went to run it with this one. It's a great game. Enjoyed it. Only place you can play this at is Super Nintendo, but if you got a Super Nintendo laying around, definitely pick this one up. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, at number 20 on my top 20 favorite 90s beat 'em ups of all time has to be Final Fight 3. Moving right along. Moving right along. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, coming in at number 19 has to be Ninja Baseball Batman. Wow, and according to Google, it says this game came out in my birthday month, September 1993. Wow, that makes it even better and sweeter. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people don't know about Ninja Baseball Batman. I'll shout out to Angry Video Game Nerd. He was talking about it on one of his videos. This game really needs a revival from the dead. The only way you can play this game right now is through Mame. If you ain't got Mame, you can't play it. And it's an arcade classic that never came out to consoles. It's a crazy story. Now, you play with four ninjas that are baseball people, and you basically trying to find the glove that they stole from your baseball team, and you go through all type of levels, and it's a crazy story. Like, weird, but the mechanics to this games are amazing, ladies and gentlemen. To this day, even when I went back and played it not too long ago, you can still unlock super moves that I ain't even never seen on a beat 'em up before. I mean, it got countless and countless of moves on there. You got the real tall, skinny dude in the blue, got a dude in the red. He was my favorite. Then you got a dude in the yellow, and then you got a dude in the blue, and then you got a dude in the green, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies. There's a whole bunch of ninja baseball men you can play with on this game, but it's a 4-player co-op beat 'em up, ladies and gentlemen. You only can play it in the arcades. Like I said, if you savvy with the PC, try to find this on Mame and check it out, ladies and gentlemen. You will not regret it. I see why Angry Video Game Nerd really like this game. I really like it myself. That's why I made top 20 on this list. So coming in, ladies and gentlemen, at number 19 has to be Ninja Baseball Batman. It is. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is like one of the rarest beat 'em ups out there. Now, if they brought this back out to Xbox Live or PlayStation Network or Nintendo Switch, I would buy it day one. Oh yeah! Fight an airplane on the plane, y'all. Y'all see this? I said you fight an airplane on an airplane. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep this party rolling. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 18 has to be Streets of Rage 3. Wow, Streets of Rage 3 came out on March 17th, 1994. Wow, 90s, baby. Got to love the 90s. Ladies and gentlemen, Streets of Rage 3 makes this list because it gets a lot of flack. A lot of people view Streets of Rage 3 as the redhead stepchild. And I understand why they view it as that, because it is hard. It's hard to top another game that's on this list. It was so amazing, it's hard to top it. But Streets of Rage 3 was off the chain. A lot of people did not like the music to the game. Now, don't get me wrong, the music is not as good as the other two entries in this franchise series, but the music, it has its bangers, and it has some, either way, I like all the music on Streets of Rage 3. Ain't one I don't like, but I like more than the other ones, and I cannot deny that it don't sound as good as the other two in the series. But Streets of Rage 3, Yuzo Zero doing his thing, and this one, it has so many different versions of the game. Now, if you play the English, and I think English and not English, but the American English European version of it is a whole different storyline, more so than the Japanese version of it. In the American English version of it, basically the chief of police got kidnapped by some Mr. X. I don't want to spoil too much. He kidnapped by Mr. X goons, And yeah, he's still alive some type of way. And they replaced him with a cyborg, a robot. And you're fighting a lot of robots on this, and you got to save the chief of police and do all type of stuff on this one. But the Japanese version of the game, basically Mr. X is still alive, of course, and he has got some type of big old bomb that he's trying to take over not just the city but the whole world with, and you got to stop his evil plot. It's a whole totally different plot in the Japanese version. And also, when you play the Japanese version of the game, the girls' legs are not covered up. They showing their skin. Apparently, skin was a big censor thing over here in America. And also, in the Japanese version, you can play with the homosexual character Ash over there. But you know, in America back in the 90s, they weren't having that. So you're gonna unlock him in the Japanese version. Like I said, differences between both games. But overall, great game to have and to play. And of course, overseas they also call it bare knuckle instead of Streets of Rage. But besides those slight differences, it's a great game, ladies and gentlemen. I had to realize the other day, because I had played through Streets of Rage 3 so many times. Because I had played through it so many times, that's why I like Streets of Rage 3 so much. I had looked up, I was like, man, I don't beat Streets of Rage 3 so many times. I beat Streets of Rage 3, Bare Knuckle 3, back and forth between both games, and they great games. I gotta give credit what credit due. Love me some Streets of Rage 3, ladies and gentlemen. That's why it makes it number 18 on this list. So coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 18 has to be Streets of Rage 3, also known as Bare Knuckle 3. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 17 has to be Saku. I'm not finna say all that. This Japanese version of it, of course, also known as River City Girls Zero. Wow, this came out originally in 1994, April 29th, over there in Japan. It was on the Super Famicom. It was Super Famicom exclusive, and they remade it. Shouts out the way for it. Remade it, not remade, but basically remastered it and added a little slight story time to it called River City Girls Zero. And I love this game. Awesome game. Played through it and beat it. I first played through it and beat it on the Super Famicom. Technically, I had played it on the emulator, but still the Super Famicom, man. They remastered it and brought it back out with us. They had some graphical improvements and added a little slight storyline to connect all the games together. If you have not played this, ladies and gentlemen, it's out on everything. It's on PS5, PS4, and Nintendo Switch. I don't think it's on Xbox. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. I think it's on PC also. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, basically this is the origin story of the River City Girls. This is Kunio-kun and basically the boyfriends you got to save in River City Girls. This is their story, how everything got started, how they basically got accused of killing somebody when they really didn't kill nobody, but you got to break out of jail and a whole big beat 'em up classic, and you got to save the city. It's a great game, ladies and gentlemen. I played through it and enjoyed it. The next to last boss, though, ladies and gentlemen, will kick your tail. Make sure before you fight, I think his name is Ken, and he like a clone of you. But man, he is rough. He is rough, boy. I had to look up a guide to figure out how to beat him. But I said, tell y'all this. This ain't really spoiling nothing. If you're gonna fight him, use that little move with the blue coat dude. He got a little move where he do like a lightning fist move. Figure out how to do that move, and that's the best move against him to save you some time and headache. Use that little lightning fist move against the next to last boss, and you can beat him. It ain't gonna be easy, but you'll beat him without, you know, having to start over and over again. Because when you get there, this really ain't no spoiler either. You only play with the two guys. The two girls, you don't play with them because they get locked up. Well, I ain't gonna say what happened to it. You just play with the two guys on there. Because at first you can play with all four of them, but when you get to that stage, you're gonna play with the two guys on there. Just trying to forewarn you before you get there. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, awesome game. Check it out. Way4 did a great job of remastering this one. I highly recommend it. Coming in, ladies, at number 17 is Shin something, but we're gonna call it the American version, River City Girls 0. Moving right along. Moving right along. You got a little friend back there helping him out. God dang it again. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 16 has to be The Punisher. Wow. Now, The Punisher came out April 22nd, 1993, ladies and gentlemen. I remember I first played The Punisher back in the day on Sega's channel. Shout out to my Sega channel fans out there. Stand up. Well, many of us, but I remember I was blessed to have a Sega channel, and it came out on Sega Genesis. I was like, man, I remember this game being an arcade. I'm like, it don't look as good as the arcade version, but it held up. Don't get me wrong, the graphics wasn't as good, wasn't as crisp, but it had two-player co-op just like the arcade. But Sega, poor little Sega / Mega Drive, tried its hardest to mimic the arcade version. But I think this was one of the first time that Capcom teamed up with Marvel to do some, beat 'em up with them. And you play as Punisher and Nick Fury, not Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury, y'all know the original Nick Fury, who was a Caucasian white guy. And they team up, and basically you Punisher, his whole thing, ladies, which is like in the comics. If you're evil and you're doing people wrong, he gonna get his justice. The way he get his justice, he don't ask no question. He don't need no lawyer, none of that. He gonna kill you. And this whole game is about you getting your revenge for a certain entity. I ain't gonna say entity. Someone killed your family. You slaughtered this man's whole family. He out for blood, and he does get it, ladies and gentlemen. He punishes all his victims, ladies and gentlemen. And y'all gonna know the last boss. For all my Marvel fans out there, y'all gonna know the last boss. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but the best way to play the Punisher nowadays is to pick up the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. It's on there, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pretty good port of it too. And Punisher, he lives up to his name. He is the Punisher. He don't hold back. If you evil and if you bad, look out, buddy. And you get on his radar, we'll holler at you. So coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 16 has to be The Punisher. Moving right along. Moving right along. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 15. Before I get to that, I forgot to tell y'all, The Punisher came out on April 22nd, 1993. Yeah, forgot to tell you guys and the girls about that. Coming in at number 15 has to be the Ninja Warriors. Yes, also known as Ninja Saviors when they remastered it. I don't know why they changed the name, but I ain't got no problem with it. Check it out on PS4 and Nintendo Switch. I highly recommend you get that one. But the Ninja Warriors came out in January 1994, according to Google, and it's an awesome hack and slash beat 'em up. You play with the Ninja Girl. All of them are cyborgs. I always play with the Ninja Girl because I always thought she was hot. The Ninja Girl. Who else you play with? The big ninja dude with the nunchuckers, and then you play with the other guy with the size on his arms. But the better version to get is the PS4 and Nintendo Switch version. They add 2 extra unlockable characters on there. I never did unlock them, so I can't tell you what they're like. But I remember them being on there because I never did go back and play through it again so I can unlock them. But they got it on the PS4 and Nintendo Switch version. You can play 2-player co-op, but on the Super Nintendo version, the original version, you can only play single-player co-op. Not co-op, single-player co-op is tripping. Only play single-player, but either way, any version is awesome. I loved it. Great music. I love the second stage port time. Man, that song right there, ladies and gentlemen, got me through some hard times, ladies and gentlemen. You know when you be going through some things, certain songs to get you through some hard times. That song right there got me through some hard times, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to whoever the composers of that song are. Appreciate you. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, for my new gamers out there, if you don't have a Super Nintendo lying around, pick up Ninja Saviors, also known as Ninja Warriors, back out in 1994. But I highly recommend this game. Great game. I loved it. Got me a physical copy of it. Had to put that one in my collection. But coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 15 has to be the Ninja Warriors, also known as the Ninja Saviors. Moving right along. Moving right along. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep it rolling. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, at number, where we at, 14? Yeah, has to be the King of Dragons. Wow. You used to know that little song when you beat the game, beat the stage, my bad. It came out in July 1991. Awesome game. Came out on Super Nintendo also. According to this, it came out at the same time on Super Nintendo. But overall, great game, ladies and gentlemen. This one has some RPG elements in it. You play with the elf. I always used to play with the elf. That was my favorite character, the guy with the bow and arrow. The elf, the knight, the clergy, I think that's what they called him. And there's like 4 or 5 different characters you can play with on this game. And the whole game is a hack and slash beat 'em up. And you're trying to get to the castle to kill the dragon and save the land. And each stage you can level up your character and add more salt to your character. I remember when I played with the elf, every time I used to level up and get more powerful, the arrows would go longer and they used to be a little bit stronger. And I don't know how the other was, the fighter, the elf, the clergy, I think there was a wizard. Yeah, about think I named about 4 or 5 of them. Either way, great game, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to play this game, the easiest access to this game is to get it on the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, which is out on the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. I need to get a physical copy of that. And if you got Mame laying around, my PC heads out there, y'all can download it or off of Mame too. But it's a great game, ladies and gentlemen. I remember playing in the arcade and playing on Super Nintendo. I beat it back in the day with some help. I'm gonna have to go back through this game. I did beat it again with shouts out to my homie Marv and David. They helped me beat it again. Yeah, with some help though, but still. Enjoy this game, ladies and gentlemen. You like beat 'em up, hack and slashes, and a little bit of dash of RPG elements in it, you'll like this game, ladies and gentlemen. I like it. That's why it makes number 14 on this list. Haha. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, I say it right? Yeah, number 14 has to be the King of Dragons. Moving right along. Moving right along. Ha ha ha. X-Men, welcome to die. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 13 has to be X-Men Arcade game. Wow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this game actually came out in February 12th, 1992. Back in the 90s, baby. 90s was a great time to be alive, ladies. Anytime to be alive is a great time. I'm just having a nostalgia moment right now, but X-Men Arcade game, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever play, shout out to my fighting game fans. You ever play Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and you play with Deadpool, he's joking on Magneto because that was a translation that they had in the X-Men Arcade game. He used to say, Magneto, welcome to die. But basically he's saying what Magneto said. He'd say, X-Men, welcome to die. That's where they get that from. It's funny, but it's a great beat 'em up, ladies and gentlemen. Hack and slash at its finest. Depends on what cabinet you have. You can either play 4-player or 6-player co-op. You had Wolverine, Storm, Hot, Dazzler, Hot, Nightcrawler, Cyclops. What's Cyclops in this? I think Cyclops was in this. And then what's the guy named Colossus? Yeah. So 6 different characters you can play as. And the only way you can play this is if you got Mame. Because they did bring it out on PS3 and 360, but I don't even know if you can re-download it on the PS3 because the only store that's still open is the PS3 store. The 360 store is closed, down for business, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, you cannot play it no other way. So basically, try to find Mame, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is a game they really need to bring out the dungeons. I don't even know who owns the rights to it. I think Fox and somebody else owns the rights to it because it's tied up in licensing HE hockey sticks. They need to rebring this one out, ladies and gentlemen, because this one has some great music. I just love the music, and it's a great hack and slash beat 'em up at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. You can't go wrong. When you think beat 'em ups, you gotta think about X-Men Arcade game. Love that. So coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 13 has to be XMen Arcade game. Ha ha ha! X-Men, welcome to die. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 12 has to be Super Double Dragon. Wow, came out on October 16th, 1992. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Billy and Jimmy are back, baby. They back again after the hit games they had on the Nintendo. Double Dragon 1, Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, and Double Dragon 3, The Sacred Stones. We end up getting Super Double Dragon, and it was the fourth one in the series. Although they did make a Double Dragon 4, the numbering system is crazy. But overall, it's a great game, ladies and gentlemen. It was the first time you seen Billy and Jimmy on a 16-bit platform, and Billy and Jimmy looked totally different. Like Billy had, like the wavy, kind of like brown hair, and then Jimmy had blonde hair. And this was the time where you had like a little Super Ball meter at the bottom of the screen. You tap and hold L, the L trigger or the right trigger, and you can build up your bar. And if you got to a certain amount of power down there at the bottom, you can do your spinning kick, a special punch move, and then if you let it fill up all the way up, you can do a move where they get mad and angry and be invincible for a while. But man, great game. Love this game. To this day, I even bought the remake or remastered version they did when shout out to who is that made that thing. I can't think of the name of the group. I always forget their name, but they did a Return of the Double Dragon, which is like a remastered version of that. It combined like the Japanese version with the English version. And it's a great game, ladies and gentlemen. Then if you want to, shout out to my fan-made modders out there. If you want to see what the game was originally supposed to be like, go play the Return of the Double Dragon, which is a PC exclusive. The guys that did that went and asked the guy that actually made Super Double Dragon how to do it, because he had wanted to, although Super Double Dragon is a great game, not taking nothing away from it, he had wanted to do a lot more with that game, but because of time constraints, he had to cut out a lot of feedback. But then the Return of Double Dragon, they added everything that he cut out in the game. You want to see the Super Double Dragon at its full extent, go check out Return of Double Dragon. It's a free fan-made download game that you can play on your PC. Check it out, like PC fans out there. But ladies and gentlemen, Super Double Dragon, awesome game. I highly recommend you check it out. I think it's out on the Double Dragon Collection that came out on Nintendo Switch, and I think you can get it on PS4 also. But if you want a physical copy, because we buy physical media on this count, get the physical copy on the Switch. I got that too. Check out that video I did of the unboxing of that too. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 12 has to be Super Double Dragon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we flipped the page on that one. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 11 has to be Final Fight 2. Wow. Final Fight 2 came out on March 22nd, 1991, ladies and gentlemen. Came out for the Super Nintendo, and to this day, it's still a Super Nintendo exclusive. Not March 22nd, I'm tripping, my bad. May 22nd, 1993. I got it all wrong. My fault, ladies and gentlemen. Make mistakes. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, where Super Nintendo dropped the ball on the first Final Fight, where they made it only one player and destroyed the game. But part 2, they picked the ball back up and got to running with it, and it was 2-player co-op. You had Maki, Carlos, Mike Hagar, and Maki, Carlos, and Mike Hagar. And this game was awesome, ladies and gentlemen. You start the game off, I think, in Hong Kong, and you have a cameo appearance of Chun-Li find herself fine in the background, sitting up there eating her some noodles. She back there eating in the background the first stage, and basically you are trying to save Guy's girlfriend and girlfriend's dad, I think, or granddad, his sensei. And Guy, of course, he's not in this one. Apparently they said Guy was off training somewhere. Why you let your folks get kidnapped, I do not know. But Maki calls Hagar, and he got to fly to Hong Kong, and Hagar, and he brings his buddy Carlos with him, and those three team up on the international street. You go to France, you go all across the Middle East continent, and beating up punks and trying to save Guy's girlfriend and sensei. That's an awesome game, ladies and gentlemen. I enjoyed it. Maki fine in the mug. I always used to play with Maki. Carlos used to be bad with his sword, and Mike Hagar, y'all know Mike Hagar, he always spinning, power driving some punks. Whew. Like, don't play with Mike Hagar. He'll spin and power drive you to Metro City, and he'll go overseas to spin and power drive you. If there's somebody that need to be power drive, Mike Hagar and his cousin Zangief, I don't know if they cousin for real, they will power drive you. Be they friends. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 11 has to be Final Fight 2. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the halfway point. Thank you guys and girls for sticking with me for so long. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 10 has to be Captain America and the Avengers, which came out in October 1991. 90 just had popped in. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of folks did not know that they made a beat 'em up back in the day of Captain America and the Avengers. Wow. Hey, I think we're about to get another beat 'em up kind of like that, similar, but I'll get into that on a later video. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you can play with Captain America, Iron Man, Vision before he got the costume change, Hawkeye. Who else you can play with that? Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye, Vision. Yeah, those four. And you had all type of different characters that could help you. Thank you, Quicksilver. He used to throw you a little power up bar, and you're fighting Red Skull and all his crazy minions. And it was a great game, ladies and gentlemen. Marvel Comics at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Great game. To me, I first played this game. I may have played it somewhere else too. I have played it somewhere else, but I think I first played it on the Sega Genesis. And the Sega Genesis version to me was a lot better than the Super Nintendo version. In my opinion, I think so, because I played both versions. And the Sega Genesis version was more arcade accurate than the Super Nintendo version. They went somewhere else on the Super Nintendo version. And don't even get me started with Nintendo version. It was one player, so they just took the co-op out completely. But I will give Sega Genesis version and the Super Nintendo version credit. It did have 2-player co-op, although the arcade version had 4-player co-op. But either way, you have a good time with either one. If you're going to get a console version, get the Sega Genesis version. I highly recommend that one. But if you got Mame laying around somewhere, get it off of Mame. And I don't know if the Data East made a collection like this, but they need to. I think Data East made the arcade version. They need to definitely make a Data East collection and put Captain America and the Avengers on there. That'd be awesome. But they probably can't make it because, you know, greedy Marvel probably wants so much money for it. I understand. I get that. But ladies and gentlemen, I highly recommend this game. So coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 10 has to be Captain America and the Avengers. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 9 has to be Captain Commando. Wow, it came out in September 1991. September, baby, stand up. Captain Commando, ladies and gentlemen, I think I either first played it on Super Nintendo or in the arcade. Either way, I played both versions. And the Super Nintendo was kind of spot on. The only thing that was wrong with the Super Nintendo version was it was only 2-player co-op. And only 2-player co-op. And the graphics wasn't as good as the arcade version. Arcade version, of course, had 4-player co-op and better graphics. But overall, the Super Nintendo version was no slouch. You'll be happy with either version. And I enjoyed it, ladies and gentlemen. You ever want to know where Captain Commando came from? You know, the one y'all see in Marvel's Capcom 2? Stone Cold, you know, doing all those different moves. This is his beat 'em up. This is based on Metroid City in the future, far future. And you play as Captain Commando, Mac the Knife, the Ninja, and the Baby. And y'all trying to save the world from aliens trying to take over the world. Hey, somebody had to do it and save the world. Shout out to Captain Commando on his game. And great beat 'em up, ladies and gentlemen. Each one of them got their special moves. And beat 'em up as its finest, ladies and gentlemen. I give Capcom credit. If it wasn't broke, they didn't try to fix it. They just added to it. Beat 'em up's got a formula. You stick to the formula, you're gonna do fine. When you try to go off and do something crazy, that's when you mess up. People don't realize that. Try to do too much. We all do it sometimes, but yeah, we're all friends here. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 9 has to be Captain Commando. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 8 has to be Alien vs. Predator. Wow, Time to Hunt came out May 20th, 1994. Wow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this game, really and truly, I didn't really was able to sink my teeth into this game until, shout out to my homie Ben, I played it on Mame. but I remember seeing it in arcades back in the day. One of the arcade where I was from, it was always up north, up north in arcades from where I'm from, and it was great, ladies and gentlemen. I used to play with Lynn Kawasawa all the time, the chick with the sword. Hot! You play with her, and you play with basically an Arnold Schwarzenegger ripoff, and then you play with the two Predators, one with the spear and one with the, I don't know what the other guy had, but it was 4 characters, and you was basically fighting the aliens. And the Predators, if you don't know the lore, the storyline, the Predators used to always hunt the aliens for sport, and that's how they got stronger. And of course the aliens came to try to take over the earth, and the Predators, you see the Predators over there, instead of killing you, they say, all right, you want to team up so we can fight these aliens and save your planet? And Lynn Kawasawa and Arnold Schwarzenegger said, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And it was an awesome storyline, great beat 'em up as the finest hack and slash beat 'em up, ladies and gentlemen. Capcom was doing its thing. Great arcade game. Once again, this one is stuck in licensing HE double hockey sticks. Only way you can really play this game if you got Mame. If you got Mame, and no real other way to play it. You can play it on some type of rare fight stick that Capcom brought out, but that's about $300 looking at Amazon. If you got it like that big time, go ahead. But basically, the only way you can play this game is through Mame. Capcom, if y'all can get through the licensing hell and bring out all those marvelous Capcom games, you need to bring out Alien vs Predator, ladies. Capcom, we would buy it. I'm telling you, it never got a console port. Now don't let them fool you. There is a console game called on Super Nintendo called Alien vs Predator. That's trash. Nothing compared to the arcade version. If you're gonna play Alien vs Predator, play it on Mame. I promise you, you will not regret it. It's a great arcade beat 'em up classic. Love it. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 8 has to be Alien vs Predator. Time to hunt. Time to hunt. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 7 has to be Knights of the Round. Wow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, according to Google, it came out in 1992. I don't know if that's the this according to Google, it says the Super Nintendo version. I don't know when the arcade version came out. We don't have no release date on that, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty close. But the first version I ever played of Knights of the Round was the Super Nintendo version. Played it back in the day. Never could beat it with my brother Twan, but I ended up beating it later on in life. I had some help, but it's a great game, ladies and gentlemen. Love the Super Nintendo version, love the arcade version. I ended up playing the arcade too, but I never did beat in the arcade, but I beat it on the Super Nintendo. And they had the Knights of the Round. You had Arthur, King Arthur, his knight Lancelot, and you had Percival. And my boy, I always used to play with Lancelot because he was fast. He had the sword, Arthur had his sword, and then Percival had his axe. And every time you, what was so tight about this game, had RPG elements in it. Every time you level up, you got better armor and faster, more powerful sword. Like I know when I played with Lancelot, he used to then level up to level 4, and like Arthur and Percival leveled up at level 3. But when he leveled up, he got armor, silver armor, then he got gold armor, then his sword got bigger. Eventually down the line we got to level 10 or 11, something like that. And Arthur at level 3 he got silver armor, and I think level 6 or 7 he got gold armor. And then eventually Arthur got like the king crown and everything. But this is basically a loose interpretation of Arthur and his Knights of the Round. It's Excalibur, you know, Arthur plays with Excalibur and everybody else plays with their basic swords and spears. But it's a great game, ladies and gentlemen. And if you play the Super Nintendo version, which is a tough version, ladies and gentlemen, because you only get a limited set of continues. The arcade version is 3-player co-op, and the Super Nintendo version is 2-player co-op. But I'm telling you, if you play the Super Nintendo version, make sure you learn to block. I think it's the triangle button, unless you just change your buttons. But the triangle button is your best friend, because they're going to be attacking you left and right. And learning to block is essential. It's the key to beating that game, learning to block. Once you learn to block, ladies and gentlemen, you can basically beat that game. Because before, when I played it with my brother, me and my brother told him we couldn't beat it because it was hard. You used to always get to the last stage and die because we didn't know how to block. But once you learn how to block, ladies and gentlemen, it makes the game a whole lot easier. I highly recommend this game. I think this game is on the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section, but I highly recommend this game. That's why it makes what number is this? Number 7 on the list. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 7 has to be Knights of the Round. Moving right along. Moving right along. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 6 has to be the Peacekeepers. Wow, also known as Russian Beat Senrura in Japan. Yes, y'all know that new game that's about to come out called Russian Beat X. It came from this series. Wow. Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you when this game came out. We got 2 release dates here. Now the Japanese version, which is Russian Beat Senrura, came out December 17th, 1993, and the North American release, the one I played, came out on March 17th, 1994. Wow, still the 90s in the building. But ladies and gentlemen, this is an awesome beat 'em up, ladies and gentlemen. You can play with Flynn, Echo, Al, and Porkcop was the main characters on this game. And the characters you can unlock is what the guy named Norton and Orbot, and had different endings to this game, different routes you can take. And when you have different routes and different endings to a game that you can take, it gives you what I call replay value. And this game was off the chain. And basically it's about a corrupt corporation called DM trying to take over the world with these different type of medical pharmaceutical experiments. And they try to take over the world, and you and a group of heroes got to come together and save the world. And I like playing with Flynn. Flynn was my boy because he had his move basically when he turned Super Saiyan. It looked like a Super Saiyan when he turned to that move, and he basically can fry the whole stage, or he can turn into this Super Saiyan type character where he's basically invincible for so long, and he can punch and kick just like Goku in them. And then I ain't gonna spoil it though, but as a boss, just be prepared for the last boss. He's a rough one. That's all I'm gonna say. And it's an awesome game, ladies, and different routes you can take. That's what I loved about it. That's why I played it so much. I beat this game with my 2 brothers, and I also beat it by myself numerous of times. Love this game. I remember, never will forget, I saw this game on sale at Kmart in the box and everything for $19. Loved it. Loved it. Can't wait for the new one to come out, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever want to know, I think this game actually came out on Nintendo Switch Online. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it's out on Nintendo Switch Online. It's called the Peacekeepers. Check it out, ladies. It's a great beat 'em up to have. Special moves, super moves, everything going along in this game. Awesome game. That's why I made number 6 on this list. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 6 has to be the Peacekeepers. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost done, but down to the last 5. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys and girls for sticking with me for so long. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, at number 5 has to be Brawl Brothers, also known as Russian Beat overseas. Wow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this one also has 2 release dates also. Let me pull it up real quick. It came out on Super Famicom in Japan called Russian Beat on December 22nd, 1992. And then later on in PAL territory and in North America, it came out on March 11th, 1993. 90's, babies. Got to love the 90's. Yes! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is an awesome game, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, the new version of this is coming out called Russian Beat X. Return of the Brawl Brothers. That's where it gets this from, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently in this one, you play as 5 different heroes. You got Hack, known as Hack over here in America. I'm telling y'all the American version. Named Hack Kazan, he was a ninja. Then you had Lord J, Wendy Hart, and I think one more character, Slash, I think that was his name. And basically you trying to take back the streets of the world, because this crazy corporation kidnap your comrades, and whoever you play with, that's who comrades you that be with. Like say you play with Hack and a ninja, you'll play with them 2 ninjas, then you got to go fight the bosses. The bosses be the clones of the comrades they kidnap. And once you beat the clones of the boss of your comrades they kidnap, you pick up your comrades and they come back to you, and you got to fight some crazy dude at the end. It's crazy, but it's a great game, ladies. In 5 stages, kind of rough too, and you fight some everywhere in this game. I love this game. One of my favorite beat 'em ups of all time. Brawl Brothers, also known as Russian Beat. And if you do have the Super Nintendo version, ladies and gentlemen, of Brawl Brothers, you can actually unlock the Japanese version of the game once you beat it. Or no, you even gotta beat it. You just put in a code and it will bring up the Japanese ROM, which is on the Super Nintendo ROM, and play it. All you gotta do is put in a certain code, and you can play Russian Beat instead of Brawl Brothers. But either way, great games. What was so tight about these games, the Russian Beat games, you had an anger mode. And the anger mode basically had to turn it on because it'd be off when you first start the game. You turn it on, and when you get hit so many times, your character will get angry and they get Super Saiyan powers. Well, I remember Hacky would throw him so hard they drag across the ground, and I remember Kazan would throw him so hard he'd drag across, he'd throw him over his shoulder. And then all type of moves and special moves you can unlock on this game. And he had super moves on this game too. My boy Hack had the lightning fist. Man, I love this game. You know why? Come in number 5 on this list? Yeah. Gotta put that at number 5. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 5 has to be Brawl Brothers, also known as Russian Beat. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, at number 4 has to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Manhattan Project. Wow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this one actually came out December 13th, 1991. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this one doesn't get much credit, ladies and gentlemen. It came out, it's like the redhead stepchild of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle beat 'em up series. It came out 1 year before the awesome game that we all know and love. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 4, Turtles in Time, came out right before that. But this game was not no slouch. This game came out on Nintendo, and I remember playing the crap out of this game back in the day. Never could beat it, but I beat it recently. I had some help. He played with, the 4 turtles, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael, and they are on vacation in Florida. And next thing you know, you turn on the TV to watch April's broadcast, Shredder, he being the bad guy, up to no good. He done kidnapped April, now he done hosted the city of New York, Manhattan, up in the sky. And now you got to go back, save April, and bring New York back down to his place. You got to surf the waves all the way from Florida, get back to New York just to save the city and, stop Shredder from being Shredder. Shredder, he going to beat Shredder regardless. Great beat 'em up, hack and slash game, ladies and gentlemen. Each turtle has their different set of moves. I mean, Michelangelo had a move where he bounced off his own hands and do it like a somersault. Not somersault, like just a bounce off move. And then Raphael had like one of the best moves where he do like a drill. He drill his body all across the ground. Then Leonardo had where he spin the swords. And Donatello where he basically flipped his bow over real quick over his head and over his legs like that. It was pretty good, ladies. Each character had their distinctive move on this game. This is when you start distinguishing the difference between all 4 of the turtles on this game. And like I said, it don't get much credit because it all also get lost in the shuffle with all the other Turtles games. And then, like I said, it had the Konami had the it came out right before Turtles in Time. That's why I don't get much credit on the Turtles beat 'em up list. But I'm gonna give it credit where credit due because it's a great game. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, at number 4. Yeah, number 4 has to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 3 has to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, SNES version. Wow. Although I like the arcade version too, but according to Google, let's pull up the Googles right quick. It came out in March 1991, the initial release. The Super Nintendo version probably came out sometime after that, but either way, you play both versions, you'll be okay. But the better version, in my opinion, is the Super Nintendo version. But if you want to play all the versions, best place to play these versions, even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, is to get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection, which came out on PS4, PS5 now, and the Nintendo Switch. Definitely get that one. That has all the Turtles beat 'em ups on it, and the 2 fighting games on there too. Yeah, it's a great collection to have, ladies. And when Konami brought that out, like, yes, got to pick this up. It's funny how Konami started bringing out their old classics when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge came out. That's when they brought back Cowabunga collection. Like, man, we gotta get on the Turtles hype. Now, I gotta give Konami credit. Konami, when it comes to Turtles beat 'em ups, they are the best at them. Don't get me wrong. Shredder's Revenge is no slouch. It's a great beat 'em up. I ain't gonna take nothing away from it. But Turtles in Time, by far, is a far better game in my opinion. Better music, better. This is a better overall, better game in my opinion. I know a lot of y'all go, so you just being nostalgic. Fine, say I am. That's fine. I ain't as afraid to admit it. Turtles 4 is awesome. Turtles in Time is awesome game. Now, between the two versions, if I had to pick one, I would go with the Super Nintendo version because it had added more to it. Although it took away 2-player co-op, 4-player co-op, it added a little bit more to it. Like on stage 4, you go to the Technodrome, but in I think it's the arcade version, you go somewhere else. And then also, what else? The SNES version, you fight Bebop and Rocksteady, and instead of fighting somebody else somewhere else, and it's some slight differences, but to me those differences are better on the Super Nintendo. And man, on the Super Nintendo version, you can also throw them into the screen, which you can do on the arcade version too. But to me, the Super Nintendo version was no slouch. They put a lot with that Mode 7. Konami really used Mode 7 to make Turtles in Time a great game on the Super Nintendo. They squeezed a lot of power on the Super Nintendo version of Turtles in Time. That's why I love it, ladies and gentlemen. I got me 2 copies of that on Super Nintendo. Like I said, the best place and easiest way to access this game is just buy the Cowabunga collection, ladies and gentlemen. And when I think you play Turtles in Time, you can play it online too. If the online still up, it should be. Game ain't that much old, but yeah, coming in lazy, but number 3 has to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time.
Alley-Cat Blues.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're down to the last 2. Thank you guys and girls once again for sticking with me for so long. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, at number 2 has to be Double Dragon 2, The Revenge. Wow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know what y'all thinking. Let me read this to you. According to Wikipedia, Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, the NES version, came out in Japan December 22nd, 1989. But the North American version came out January 15th, 1990, and also along with the PAL version of 1990. So it just squeaked in there by a month over here in America. So it's going to squeak in on my top 10. And like I said, it's my top 10. Leave your top 10 down in the comment section for me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Double Dragon 2 was off the chain, ladies and gentlemen. It was the first time we got a Double Dragon game that was co-op on the NES. If you did not know, the first Double Dragon game was not co-op. You know, it said Double Dragon, but it wasn't co-op. But Double Dragon 2, they made up for their mistake. On Double Dragon 2, they made it co-op. And you play with Billy and Jimmy. And of course, you're trying to seek your revenge for them killing Marion. And this one, I also can say that this one has a happier ending than the arcade version. The arcade version is a very depressing ending. But the NES version of this game has a happy ending, put it like that. Got to go through the game, beat up some punks, and get Marion back. And what else happened in this game? I'm going to tell you this. There's 3 different modes you can play. I think it's a beginner mode, a normal mode, and a Supreme Master mode. And in order to see the real true ending of the game, you have to beat it on Supreme Master. Because if you beat it on Warrior, you won't get the true ending. You beat it on the other mode, you won't get the true ending. Only way to get the real ending, you have to beat Supreme Master mode. Basically, NES version of this game was giving you replay value way back in the day. And in my opinion, ladies, it was worth going back into the game. Because I want to see the real ending. I want to see the real ending. And I ain't gonna lie to you, ladies and gentlemen, when I first beat this game, I had to cheat. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I did. Me and my brothers and my dad kept trying to beat this game together. We never could beat it together because it was hard. It was a tough game. A lot of platforming, a lot of hard bosses. It was hard to beat this game. And I like, man, my mom and dad kept renting the game for me. And so one day I like, man, I wonder if I put it on 2 players, what happened? I like, let me go beat up Jimmy, see what happened. Sorry, Jimmy. It's so hard. Let me stop being silly. I beat up Jimmy, got all his lives. And when I got all his lives, I ended up still having 3 lives. I had like 7 or 8 lives. And with those lives, I was able to run through the game and beat the game. But although I've done that before, again, not too long ago, maybe a few months back, I still couldn't beat it because it was still rough, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have to go through it again and see if I can beat it again. But awesome game, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get me wrong, Double Dragon 2 is a hard game on NES. Double Dragon 2 will not hold your hand. Forewarn you, Double Dragon 2 on the NES will not hold your hand. It's going to push you. It's going to test you. I'm telling you, I'm warning you, my beat 'em up fans out there, before you play it. But I still love this game to this day. Still makes number 2 on this list, ladies and gentlemen. Can't take nothing away from it. Coming in, ladies and gentlemen, number 2 have to be Double Dragon 2, The Revenge. NES version, American version, 1990. Ha! Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, down to my number 1. And my number 1 favorite, top 20 favorite beat 'em up of the 90s is, of all time is, Streets of Rage 2. Wow. Also known as Bare Knuckle 2 overseas and Europe. Shout out to my European and overseas brothers and sisters. Japan, stand up. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now this one made me go through some hoops to get the release date on that. I did not know it just came out back out on Steam, but it came out on the Sega Genesis North America December 15th, 1992, and Japan and Europe, which is the Mega Drive version of it, came out January 14th, 1993. So we got 2 release dates. Oh, it also came out on Game Gear in Japan July 23rd, 1994, and North America and Europe August 1993. And for the Master System, I'm bringing you all these release dates. We had only came out in Europe, only came out February 1994, and it came out on the 3DS apparently in Japan April 29, 2015, and what's that? I don't know about all that other stuff, but hey, you got the release dates. I told y'all. Yeah, let's get into this. Now, Streets of Rage 2, ladies and gentlemen, after all these years, I played a lot of beat 'em ups to this day. And to this day, in my opinion, Streets of Rage 2 is still one of my favorite beat 'em ups of all time. Of the 90s, hands down, period. What made Streets of Rage 2 so much better was if it wasn't broke, Sega Genesis and Yuzo Koshiro did not try to fix it. They added to it. What they did made the music even better. Shout out to Yuzo Koshiro, and Sega made the mechanics of the game even better. Now, Streets of Rage 1, don't get me wrong, it ain't no slouch. It's a great beat 'em up game, but you had to start somewhere. Streets of Rage stars Axel, Blaze, Hart, and Adam. The ex-cops trying to clean up the streets and just trying to clean up the streets on the first one and take down Mr. X. Apparently, after the first one, you thought you took down Mr. X. Apparently, he didn't die. He came back stronger than ever on Streets of Rage 2, and this time he kidnaps Adam. And on Streets of Rage 2, you play with Axel, Blaze, Hart, Axel's friend Max, who's a wrestler. I call him the chiropractor, and Skate, Adam's little brother. And awesome game, ladies and gentlemen. My favorite character on there is Skate. The skate used to get on the back of your head and just wear it out. Pop, 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 pop. And the music, Dreamer. Shout out to Smooth McGroove. He made a acapella version of that. Y'all go check that out. I think it's on YouTube. Type in Dreamer acapella version. It should pop up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an awesome beat 'em up, ladies and gentlemen. I don't play this game over and over again a whole bunch of times. Beat it together with friends, and I beat it by myself a whole bunch of times. But one thing about this game, ladies and gentlemen, it has replay value. You can beat it on easy, normal, hard mode, and then you have a mode on there called Mania mode. And Mania mode is no slouch. It's not going to hold your hand. What Mania mode does is take everything you know about beat 'em ups and throws it at you. The whole kitchen sink and then some. And they put it all in this game. Instead of having so many last bosses, you got 2 and 3 different bosses per stage, and this is a hard mode to have. Replay value, awesome game, awesome beat 'em up, ladies and gentlemen. Love playing through it. Eventually, I'm gonna play through it again, ladies and gentlemen. I just ain't played through it this year, but I know I played through it last year sometime. Love Streets Rage 2, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing else can be said. I'm doing it a disservice by talking about it so much. I'm gonna just let the gameplay speak for itself. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps it up, ladies and gentlemen, for my top 20 favorite beat 'em ups of all time. I mean, of the 90s of all time. Leave comments below, ladies and gentlemen, your favorite beat 'em ups of the 90s of all time. I would love to know down below. Thank you guys and girls so much for watching. Stay tuned for more great videos like this on the way. Double Dragon 912 signing out. Peace out. Look at that. Real dumb. You like to upcut people. You drop, you like, keep on up, drop kick. Alright, just me and you now, Jack. You have all you want. Yeah, I'm coming. I can punch too. Give me something. Alright. Keep moving. One of these days, y'all, I'm gonna upload some Streets Rage remake for you guys too. I don't know if I want to do it doing Sega week. Technically, it is a Sega game. It's just a remake. They made it from scratch and it's PC fan made, but still, it's still a Sega game.